Welcome back to Pen and Pencil. Let's get right down to the topic. It's all in the mind. A couple of days ago, my friends and I were talking about guilty pleasures, and I was trying to think of the films that I personally would call guilty pleasures. I remember a while back I called the film we're talking about today a guilty pleasure, and nowadays I refuse to say that. So thanks to my t-shirt today, we are talking about the 1968 film Yellow Submarine. Directed by George Dunning, once upon a time, or maybe twice, there was an unearthly paradise called Pepperland. 18,000 leagues under the sea it laid, or lie, and one day Pepperland is attacked by the music-hating Blue Meanies. You see, Pepperland's whole piece centers around the music of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and so they get placed in this little bubble that the Blue Meanies created. It's crazy weird. And then the entire Blue Meanie army attack, including these guys that throw apples at you, these evil screaming clowns, a giant glove. It's really crazy. So their leader, Lord Mayor, sends young Fred on a yellow submarine to go find new musicians to combat the threat. Young Fred just so happens to meet the four guys who changed music forever. They should work. This film is awesome. If you haven't seen this film, please go see it. Again, nothing I say today will really spoil the experience, but this film is just something you need to watch. The soundtrack, for one, is amazing. It is done by the Beatles, so to go without saying, it is pretty awesome. The thing about this movie versus the Beatles' other movies, Hard Day's Night, Help, and Magical Mystery Tour, is that the majority of the songs used in this film were actually previous releases. Songs in this movie were from Revolver, Rubber Soul, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and many others. Actually, there was only about 3 or 4 songs that were written specifically for this movie, and they're awesome too. Another interesting about this film is actually its voice cast. You see, the Beatles were in a contract to make a certain amount of movies, and they wanted to get out of that contract by this time. Things were getting messy. Again, this was during the later parts of their career when they were closer to breaking up. So they thought, why don't we just have a film made, give it our blessing, our permission, and have us be characters in it, but we don't have to be in it because it's animated. And so a different voice cast is hired, and writers and director, and all that type of stuff, and the Beatles don't have to play any part of that except for a small cameo and music. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty, because this is Pen and Pencil, and on Pen and Pencil we have to talk about the script. When people talk about this film, at least the ones who have seen it, they always talk about how trippy and surreal this film is. First off, when they say this film is surreal, I don't think they're saying this is a surrealist film. A surrealist film is more like Twin Peaks or Paprika. This film just has surreal images. If this was actually a surrealist film in terms of the surrealist film movement, the plot would probably be a little more unorthodox and would take a little more analysis and dissecting to actually understand it. But the plot of this film is pretty straightforward. There's a peaceful place that gets attacked. They have to go find heroes. The heroes come back and save the place. Pretty simple, but it's all in the execution. This film script is really a rapid-fire joke machine gun. It's just joke after joke after joke. Most of them Beatle puns referencing other songs, but other than that, it's just funny moments. For instance, when they meet the Nowhere Man Nowhere, there's a lot of jokes that go on there about the Nowhere Man's name, about everything that he does, and why he does it in Nowhere, why he would ever do it, and all that type of stuff. And it's hilarious. And like Hard Day's Night and Help, this film kind of has a story revolving around Ringo. And I say kind of that way because it really only has its story around Ringo for the first, 10 minutes. Then it's just a trip through all these different seas or lands that the Beatles get to go through and prompt songs. And I can't really say the story revolves around Ringo because Ringo barely has an arc. I mean, sure, the film opens with him being all mopey about nothing ever happening to him, and then something happens to him. And then at the end, he feels good about himself because he had the right thought to bring the Nowhere Man along. It's weird. And really, none of our heroes have an arc. We're really just following them cracking jokes and singing songs on their way to Pepperland, and then singing songs to save Pepperland. But who does have an arc is actually the main villain. The Chief Blue Meanie, who is terrifying. He is the one who actually changes. He starts the film one way, and at the end of the film, he's changed. And that's kind of interesting. It's a nice little touch. Really, he is a real cartoony villain, but he does get the arc. I think the reason why I like this film so much is because I am a huge fan of the Beatles, and I do love the visuals so much. It's a vivid wonderland of color and texture and everything. I mean, sure, it's not the most masterpiece-like visuals. It's not a Kubrick film. It's not a David Lynch film. But it's very vibrant and very out there. And I like films, especially animated films, that do that. I think a reason why I really like this film is I like the idea of musicians saving the world. So to have the idea of a place being torn apart and then being able to be saved by music, not just Beatles music, but music itself, I think is really, really nice, and I think we should see more of that. I mean, we do have a lot, Music Changed My Life films, or When I Became a Musician, Everything Started to Make Sense films, and those are great. But I really like the idea of musician superheroes fighting crime kind of thing. I think there needs to be more of those. Anyway, Yellow Submarine, if you haven't seen it already, go see it. I love it. I hope you love it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to stay tuned to Classy Octopus. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.